Hey everyone. So I've just given myself a hypothetical assignment, which is to use the categories of descriptive analysis to explain and evaluate whether Bush's 2004 campaign biography video at the Republican National Convention was meaningful, successful for its audience. And here's what I've come up with. So I have my notes over here to my right. I've just rewatched the video, as I hope you have, and I'm going to go through why I think it was a successful biographical effort on behalf of Bush's team. The argument that I would make is this: Bush's narrative is not successful because it takes us on a hero's tale. It doesn't show us that Bush is bigger, smarter, faster, more clever, better than the rest of the American public and thus is deserving of our vote. Instead, Bush's narrative, his biography video, is meaningful. It's resonant because it shows us a narrative of self-discovery, a narrative of becoming. A very familiar story, what the Germans call Bildungsroman. It is a story of self-discovery that's not at all different from a story like Odysseus's journey or Gilgamesh's journey or any of the other popular stories that we know of from books, comics, as well as movies that float around the 21st and the 20th century. It is a very familiar way to say that this is not a special individual, but is instead a person just like you and I, who, unlike you and I, is plucked from normalcy, plucked from the crowd by incredibly abnormal, unforeseeable circumstances, and has to rise to the occasion. And Bush, through his leadership, through the presidency, this presidency of surprises to that point, of unforeseeable surprises, has led by rising to the occasion, not because he entered the office better than the rest of us, more qualified, more leaderly. So, like I said, you don't use all six categories. They're not all important for any given thesis you're going to argue depending on the discourse that you're analyzing. In this particular instance, to augment, to modify, to prove my thesis, I think there's three categories from my notes that I just collected that help me prove that thesis, that the coming of age tale, Bush's coming of age tale, renders his leadership in a much more palatable way, in a much more effective way than it would be if the movie just told us that he was much more naturally inclined to be a leader than the rest of us, and thus he deserves our vote. So the three categories that I think help me make that point, help me parse the evidence from the film, are these: structure, evidence, and persona. The structure of the film is chronological. It takes us from 9/11 all the way to that fateful day in October, in early October, during the Subway series in Yankee Stadium. And what it does is it also punctuates that chronological tale with two hills. The first hill, where Bush took the bullhorn to the top of the hill and addressed the public in New York, and the second to the mound that he was dared to climb by Yankee great Derek Jeter. The second bit of category of descriptive analysis that helps me prove my thesis would be the evidence. The evidence used, and in particular, I just mean the pictorial evidence. The pictorial evidence is not evidence that you would use to establish Bush's greatness. They're not amazingly wrought, finely orchestrated campaign photographs that show a single solitary leader in moments of greatness. By far, most of the images are just Bush hanging out with other people, Bush running around the White House track, Bush tapping people on the back, Bush smiling with people, Bush as a man of the people, emphasizing this message that he is not abnormal, he is not abnormally great. Instead, he's one of us who has been chosen, in a sense, by history to lead. The final category that helps me prove my point is persona. And this persona is demonstrated by the two images that we see, the bullhorn and the baseball. In the bullhorn, Bush takes a very normal instrument, the bullhorn, and addresses the crowd in a very short speech to which they respond. In the second one, he climbs a small baseball mound and throws a perfect strike in incredibly abnormal circumstances when he emerges from the crowd in the dust jacket, in the Secret Service jacket, with an incredible amount of death threats swirling in the air. Fear is in the air, and Bush is in crowded Yankee Stadium for the World Series, and he still throws a strike. In those instances, the persona of this person who is normal but is in the act of becoming great is shown, and that's nowhere more importantly shown in the film than at the very end, where the pictures become moving images. The only moving images in the film are of Bush actually throwing the strike at the end of the video. And it's almost as if he came alive in that moment, and that completes the journey of self-discovery or the journey of self-awareness as this kind of epic that I've been talking about for my hypothetical thesis would show. So I'm interested to see how you would do this, how you would employ the categories of descriptive analysis, not just on this one, but also on the next video that I'm going to show in the next slide. So the next slide is John McCain's 2008 campaign biography video entitled The Box. The narrator is exactly the same former presidential candidate Fred Thompson, who is also in such shows as Law and Order and a little movie called Best of the Best. It's one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. So, if you'd like to email me your thoughts about how you've used descriptive analysis to analyze either the Bush video, and especially without my help, the 2008 McCain video, please do so, and we can help you become more comfortable using this technique before you actually have to use it on your first paper, the election assessment paper, and your second paper, the final paper in the course. Thanks, everybody.